One of the key announcements for large business is the instant asset write-off. That has been extended. We've had an instant asset write-off regime for a while now, and this one extends it out to those businesses with an aggregate turnover of less than $5 billion. So most of our large clients will fall into this space. They get that instant asset write-off for any new or improvements to existing assets through to 30 June 22. So time for those ones to get their CapEx planned and orderly spend happening through that.
There'll be a number of businesses that'll be hard hit in the current financial year. So there's the ability to use a current year loss and regain some tax that was paid last year. Which is something we historically haven't done in Australia, is have loss carryback rules. So that's a good cash flow benefit for businesses. They're expanding the definition of small and medium enterprises up to about $50 million turnover. So that'll give particularly medium enterprises access to concessions that they weren't otherwise able to do. And then, of course, there's some wages subsidies that's going to be available to a number of businesses, where it's to encourage them to employ more people, and obviously the benefits of more employment.
A couple of things from an international perspective is that we have some proposed change to our company tax residency test. We had a Bywater High Court case a couple of years ago that threw things into a bit of a new field, and the ATO, or the government, is now looking to put it back to how we want to make sure that a company to be considered a resident has got a real substantial economic connection with Australia, not merely some central management and control.
Well, the implications for large enterprises is hopefully to increase their competitiveness, increase their investment. I think is one of the key drivers they're looking to get across a large number of industries, with ultimately the goal of increasing the economic activity that we've got across Australia to drive us out of what we think is going to be a hard time.
It's more about creating a stable economy and getting us back on track as quickly as we can, to provide that environment where businesses can get back to hopefully business as usual and grow from there. So it's more of the stable economy as a whole, as opposed to individual measures that will apply for large businesses.
The opportunity for large enterprises coming out of this year's budget is really around that opportunity to make significant investments in their business going forward, which will really hopefully enable them to expand, to capitalise on hopefully what is going to be a really good economic outcome for Australia. I think certainly, although the debt numbers do sound quite large, as a percentage of our GDP, it's around going to cap out at about 50%, which does sound large, but compared to other nations around the world, it's quite small, which means economically, I think Australia is going to be well placed going forward. The investment by large enterprises in their business should enable them to capitalise on that position.
The key thing to come out of the budget from the incentivising trade and investment is around the stable economy and creating us as ahead of the world effectively with our projected growth going forward. And I think that creates an opportunity for global investment into Australia, which will assist in growing our economy. It's also, with the increase in the instant asset write-off, allowing big businesses to basically bring their equipment up to date and be as efficient as they possibly can in a tax-effective way. Also some incentives around the apprentices and traineeship and the job maker hiring credit to encourage large businesses to take on more of the eligible people in that space.
Certainly the government's looking at targeting manufacturing as well. So prior to the budget, they announced a package that's certainly going to look to try and drive and better our manufacturing sectors. And I think that's one of the things that's come out of the COVID scenario is a realisation that we actually do have a good manufacturing base. The R&D incentives, which will allow businesses to invest and innovate, will be really well targeted as well, I think. So I think there's a number of opportunities, and so therefore trade into the rest of the world will be enhanced by that.